it is. I don't think that the weather's going to allow us to do that. I think it'll just end up being too dangerous for us that we wouldn't want to travel in excessive winds, right? So we have a backup location that we'll broadcast from tomorrow if we can for you. Cement building sits pretty high, 9 feet above the street level, which would put it higher than where the flooding hopefully will be. And I think that's where we may end up having to hunker down because safety comes first. You know, no chances tomorrow, and hopefully everyone home, same chances with conditions like this.
For real Weather Channel fans that watch us a lot, we've seen what it looks like when Jim Cantore was in the wind tunnel, right? I mean, picture standing out there, plus miles per hour. I mean, the sights and sounds tomorrow are going to be ridiculous.
I would say this, Mark. You know, a lot of people say, oh, I'd like to get out there and, you know, maybe experience like 100-mile-an-hour wind. That would be so cool. You can't stand in 100-mile-an-hour wind. Think about this when you know, a guy like Jim Cantore was in the wind tunnel at Virginia Tech, right? And he was tethered. He had a big harness on, and he was tethered as the wind was hitting him. You have to be strapped down to something in order to manage to stay upright in winds like that. So this is why you've got to be in some very, very sturdy shelter that's meant to take that kind of wind, because humans aren't meant to take that kind of wind.
About one other point with that wind, it's not just the wind out there, it's also what's breaking, right? It's debris-filled 100-mile-per-hour winds.
Yeah, I mean, think about street signs, think about the street lights, think about trees, mailbox. I mean, everything can become a projectile because you're basically saying we're going to bring a really big tornado your way. Down, we're going to throw it in the air, and that's a real danger. Everyone should be inside. If you want to, you peek out the window. If you're you have hurricane windows, but that's about it, right? You don't want to become a victim to any of those things. Hopefully, now hopefully, I will say this though, Mark. You know, in a lot of places that are exposed to hurricanes on a regular basis, they're fortified for those things. You know, street signs are reinforced. They have for business signs that have to be low. They have to be built out of concrete or brick or stuff like that. So hopefully we can reduce the amount of flying projectiles, but it can be a risk in some areas.
Yeah, I mean, just a piece of siding coming off a house can easily become a projectile. We were talking about that video with Cantore in the wind tunnel when he was just strapped down. We can show everyone a piece of that as well, because it's not just about testing what it feels like when you're in wind like this. You can see its face getting blown back, right? But location, if something were to break where you are, Mike, it's thrown in that wind.
It becomes a real danger because, you know, maybe you want to go out there and take a little look and it seems pretty decent outside, and then all of a sudden you get a really good wind gust and a gutter gets ripped off a house and it comes your way. You know, you don't want to have to be ducking cover constantly and stuff like that. And I will say something else about, you know, that and the jaws flapping and everything in the wind. It's dramatic, right? I've been in that same wind tunnel before, and I'll say this about the stuff that flies, even in that wind tunnel, which is clean, Mark. Tents in there, it was peeling the paint off the walls, and little chips of paint are flying at you in the face. That just goes to show you how strong the winds are. They can actually strip the paint of that wind tunnel. That can happen to homes, like you said, siding, shingles, roof tiles, gutters, all those things could become flying objects in this hurricane.
Yeah, Mike, as you mentioned, it could be an unrecognizable landscape tomorrow as some of the core of those winds come through. So we know you're going to keep everybody safe, yourself and your crew included. Thanks for chatting with us. We'll get back to you in just a second. Quickly, it's not just a Southwest Florida story, right? We're watching Southeast Florida. We're watching bands that are already producing tornadoes, including near Fort Pierce, a new tornado warning in St. Lucie County until 10 o'clock.
Do not think the storm is over when the wind slows down. The storm surge will rush in and it could kill you.
Take a look, take a listen. That is U.S. Florida, where the winds are now gusting is 67 miles an hour. You can see the storm surge now coming up. It's coming up quickly. We think that much of the Keys could be inundated with water as Irma makes a close pass. It's going to be, I think, one for the record books, unfortunately. Welcome to the Weather Channel's ongoing coverage of Hurricane Irma. Time. As Irma likely to come through the Keys tonight and then make a pass at the west coast of Florida and may just unleash fury like we have not seen century in parts of Florida. I want to update you on the timing that we've got for a place like Naples and Fort Myers, okay? So you can understand what's coming your way. For Naples, we think that tropical storm force gusts begin that lasts all the way through Monday morning, okay? What about the 100? That is not out of question by a long shot here, folks. That begins by midday tomorrow, lasts for maybe 8-10 hours. That you could be in 100-mile-an-hour wind gusts, especially say how much rain, up to a foot, could be coming our way. So flooding rain is going to be an issue, and then flooding for storm surge as well. That storm surge forecast to be up to 15 feet here in Naples, which will put us underwater for sure, and many homes and neighborhoods underwater. Fort Myers, for just a little bit later timing, okay? We got tropical storm force gusts coming in by tomorrow morning, lasting through Monday. 100-mile-per-hour gusts beginning midday, maybe late afternoon even. Rainfall up to a foot. Storm surge up to 15 feet. It's going to cause a lot of issues for us. And we know there's a lot of concern here in Naples. And the mayor's saying he's very worried about what the issues could be to life and property.
That's close to these flood, to what possibly could be devastating. And a lot of them are up north anyway. A lot of winter residents that have homes on the beach and everything are, they're not here yet. They would be back in October or November. But, I'm thinking about the businesses downtown and what would happen to our Fifth Avenue South and 3rd Street. And, there's a lot of property down there. A lot of people could be hurt.
It'd be great if everyone were a seasonal resident, right? They have the snowbirds. They come down here in the wintertime. So some they aren't occupied, but many are. And many have chosen to leave, which is great news. People have boarded up, they put up the shutters, and they just hightailed it out of here because they know the kind of danger that this hurricane. One person that certainly knows that danger firsthand is our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knapp, joining us now live tonight from the Weather Channel studios. Dr. Knapp, just get this uneasy feeling about what's to happen tomorrow across the Gulf Coast of Florida. This is just not sitting well with me tonight. I think probably that nervousness is echoed millions of times over for Floridians and what they're going to have to deal with.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll admit, I'm sick to my stomach over what's probably going to happen in Southwest Florida, not just due to the wind, but due to the storm surge. This is going to be an event that people in that area haven't seen in a long, long time. And this is no Charlie. Likely to be as strong. The forecast from the Hurricane Center pans out to be Cat 4 when it goes by. But it's much larger, and it's taking a different track. So the winds and the storm surge, a much larger number of people in this event. Mike, do you think folks are getting that?
I hope so. The interesting thing about it, Dr. Knapp, is to talk to many people here because there's hardly anybody here. Right? There are folks that work at the hotel, and they're all closing down. They're going to be leaving. The mayor's here, some emergency operations folks, some first responders, but most of the residents that are here are gone, which to me signals they get stand. And knowing that most of them haven't gone through something like this before, they don't want to take any chances, which to me means, as meteorologists, maybe they got the message. We've been pushing this message for a long time, and maybe they got that message, and I think that's a real testament to communication skills of meteorologists these days.
Into Jermaine Arena and Estero earlier, so hopefully people are taking shelter out of the storm surge evacuation zones. And let's talk a little bit about and show you where the storm surge could be the worst. This track and this intensity pose a grave danger to life and property, especially in Southwest Florida due to the devastating storm surge. That's where the storm surge could be greatest, experienced in many other places. And again, I want to reemphasize with regard to this forecast cone, a couple of important things. Number one, the cone gets pretty useless when it gets close to landfall because the hurricane is so much larger than the cone. The impacts are easily going to extend outside the cone, both wind and water. Don't guarantee yourself that the track is going to follow the exact middle of this cone. We've seen Irma defy that life already. What if it goes farther east and goes perhaps right over Orlando? Possible. What if it goes farther west, spends a lot of time over the Gulf of Mexico, more so than this intensity forecast presumes? Could have a stronger hurricane coming up into the Big Bend. Storm surge could go over Tallahassee directly. So a lot of possibilities here. Don't let your guard down based on assumptions of a perfect forecast. Now, let's take a look at where the storm surge is going to occur to what dry ground. The greatest threat is in southwest Florida, where we could have an absolutely catastrophic, devastating storm surge event, and 10 to 15 feet above normally dry ground is what is forecast somewhere in this area. 6 to 10 feet north of there, 5 to 8 up in the Tampa area, 4 to 6 feet in part of the Biscayne Bay area, and then of course the Keys could be absolutely inundated, not just from the Atlantic side as the hurricane approaches, but from the backside as it departs. In fact, southwest Florida, Tampa Bay, they could all experience the worst storm surge after the center goes by, pushing the Gulf of Mexico toward them. And then, of course, farther north, there's that risk as well, including in the Florida Big Bend area and the Georgia coastline. Now, let's take a look at a couple specific areas here on the potential storm surge flooding map that shows you how far inland from the immediate beach the storm surge flooding could go, how high above normally dry ground it could get. Reasonable worst case in any one spot. Let's zoom into southwest Florida here, because the Naples area is of particular concern for storm surge flooding that could not just go blocks inland, but miles inland from the coastline. You see, you just get the general sense here that southwest Florida is more vulnerable than Florida for storm surge penetrating many miles inland. And that's why there have been extensive evacuations called in that area. And the Fort Myers, Tampa Bay area is full storm surge areas in all the country. And so is the Tampa Bay area. So I know, Sarah, are we able to look into the details on these? And let's take a look at Naples and Fort Myers. Let's start with Naples. Now, again, immediate beach right here, but look how far the reds go inland. This is where you could get 9 or more feet above normally dry ground of salt water from the Gulf of Mexico. Here, that evacuations have been called for that reason. Now let's go farther north up to the Fort Myers area, and you see that it's not just the barrier islands, but look, it goes up the Chokoloskee River, maybe even in the downtown Fort Myers area, there could be storm surge getting close to there. Now let's go quickly up to the Tampa Bay area, where it's not just a Gulf front problem. All of these areas surrounding Tampa Bay, including downtown Tampa, are vulnerable. And as I leave, I want to show you briefly the Biscayne Bay area in Miami, because even though the hurricane is likely to go up the west coast, we still could get storm surge in the northern parts of Biscayne Bay, 4 to 6 feet in that area. Still storm surge warning. It's a big hurricane, big water and wind problems over a large area.
Dr. Knapp, can I ask you a personal question? Like, I'm exhausted already. The hurricane's not even here. You got to be spent.
Nowhere close, Mike. No, this is what I signed up for. And as long as people are dealing with a hurricane, I'm going to be standing right here making sure they know what's coming and they stay safe. So I'll sleep in December. It's over.
Yeah, I love the attitude, Knapp. That's a winner's attitude right there. Thank you very much. And America thanks you for all the information, the great knowledge that you are dispensing. It's just fantastic stuff. Let's update you on what that forecast is here, okay? Because I'm going to give you some Naples forecast here, because when we talk about, this is a great graphic, shows you the winds and where we think the eye may come to, okay? And that eye may come, it's not a question the eye may come over Naples, but we think at least on the current forecast track, it stays just to our west. Winds will change direction, winds will gust high, Naples, Fort Myers, and through Tampa through the afternoon, wind gusts will be over 100 miles an hour. Wind gusts will be over 130 miles an hour. Sustained winds could be over 100. As we go through the evening, those will start to back off a little bit more. By Monday, they back off even more. And I think by Monday morning, certainly by midday, we'll probably be under tropical storm force winds. But when we're in the teeth of it, it is just going to be as gnarly as you have ever experienced. This area, this west coast of Florida, this particular Naples or Fort Myers, it's been a very long time. Something like this is going to be tremendous. A lot of people have left, and that's great news. We love that they have left, right? Let's get an update on how those evacuations have gone from Kerry Sanders.
This is Kerry Sanders in Naples, Florida. Today, Alligator Alley, the main road connecting west to east in Florida, with a rush towards Miami. Many on the west coast who thought they were safe now scrambling to get out.
You really don't know what to do. Careful.
Michael Carr lives in Fort Myers.
I'm frightened to hell because I don't think his house can hold up.
Florida Governor Rick Scott warning the storm surge could reach the tops of homes.
This is a life-threatening situation. Remember, the storm surge comes after the wind. Do not think the storm is over when the wind slows down.
Everglades City, the fishing village south of Naples, could find itself swamped by a 12-foot storm surge. Same flooding threat on Marco, an island about the same size as Manhattan. Decided not to evacuate.
We're prepared for the storm surge unless it gets up to the third floor.
Today, lowering hurricane shutters, confident they will protect his family. 13 years ago, Hurricane Charlie, a Category 4, leveled several West Coast communities. The damage extended 26 miles inland to Arcadia, where today residents prepared for another hit.
I've been working, day and night. Been sleeping too well.
Tonight, tens of thousands of homes across Florida have already lost power. More than 16,000 electric crews ready to move in.
We've assembled the largest force, not just in our company's history, but in the United States.
First responders bracing for the worst-case scenario.
This storm is Hurricane Andrew on steroids.
The Marco Island Fire Department goes into lockdown with winds at 45 miles per hour.
If they call you during the middle of the hurricane for help, what happens? They're on their own.
Know that a lot of people have been leaving and heeding the evacuation orders, and this is a ghost town here in Naples. There's not a single car on the road at one point this afternoon. Here, we know that there are certain places that are very susceptible to hurricanes. The Florida Keys being one of the chain of islands that extends down south of mainland Florida. Right now, Smith Shoals Light, 74-mile-per-hour wind gusts, hurricane-force wind gusts. In Key West, 67-mile-per-hour wind gusts already, and the hurricane is just under 100 miles away from Key West. Let's take you there right now because some people are riding it out, including Storm Tracker Mike Tice joining us on the phone tonight. Mike, last we talked to you, you talked about this fortified building that you'll be staying in. You still feel good about that? Tell our viewers at home where you're staying and what this building is constructed of.
We're actually staying at the La Concha Hotel, which was constructed in 1926. So this building has been through many hurricanes. Probably not one this strong, but we feel very confident with the way it's built. There's a lot to it. We can get to a center room if we have to. We can get into a stairwell if it gets really bad with our location. But that leads me to one thing I want to fix on air when we were talking last segment about the Hemingway house. I've been asking around about it and about the caretaker staying there. And I had said, oh, it's one of those beautiful wooden homes in the Keys, like most of them are in Key West, but, the older houses. But I was actually corrected. It has 18-inch limestone walls, and it's located on the highest point of the island. So that makes me feel a little better about that caretaker. But we are going to try to go over there and see if she's okay once we can safely do it after the storm.
Good news there, Mike. That's for sure. But, we were looking at these pictures of this, the waves already coming up there in the Keys, storm surge already becoming an issue. Have you noticed that? I mean, I know it could be difficult now that it's dark to get out there and experience any of the weather. What is the weather that you've noticed so far?
Well, just up until it got dark, the storm surge was coming in very rapidly, very fast. Breaking already. We noticed boats that were tied together, but they broke free from their anchors or whatever they were tied to, and they were literally just floating by and out to sea. Very scary sight because you don't know if someone maybe stayed on that boat to ride it out. There was a few people who were riding it out on their boats, Mike, which is extremely scary for them possibly. But it's deteriorating very fast here, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, if someone's riding this out on a boat, I fear that that may not turn out to be a wise choice. That's just putting it mildly. Mike, you know, we know there's this marker down there in Key West, being the southernmost point in the continental United States. Waves have already been crashing over that, and a lot of people go down there and take their pictures, right? Because it's a cool thing to do. It's a video of people being hit by the water and knocked off their feet. It shows you how bad the water already is right now.
We went down to that spot a couple hours ago, and there was big waves crashing on it at that time. I can't imagine what it looks like now. The problem is they might be out there thinking it's fun and games right now because the storm isn't too bad yet. Well, all it takes is one rock or a boulder or something in that wave to hit you in the head or a piece of debris, and you're going to be severely injured. I mean, it's not the time to play around with these waves, but I did see people down there taking pictures and, you know, letting the waves hit them and stuff. And I hate seeing that, but, you know, what can you do other than just warn them?
Yeah, a picture's not worth your life. I just say that. You know, it's, you know, in this day and age of selfies, you really need that one, the one that could cost you your life. Hey, Mike, thank you so much. Good to talk to you. Good to hear that you are in a very well-built, sturdy structure there with a few folks that ride this thing out in a very dangerous place at Key West tonight. Meteorologist Mark Elliott at the Weather Channel headquarters with us tonight. You know, one thing he said there, Mark, that just kind of really gave me a queasy feeling was he said that he believes there have been some people down there in the Keys that are trying to ride this out in their boats. And I just hard time figuring out why someone would want to do that. It's just the most dangerous thing you could possibly do.
I mean, the wave forecast is breaking our color scale. We're talking about 30, 40-foot waves just off the Keys, just off Miami. And there's no ship big enough to be able to deal with those kinds of waves. And that's not even factoring in the wind.
It just, I don't know. I don't have any answer there. Why someone would want to do that. It just seems to be the complete opposite of life, you know, if you ask me. You know, Mark, I look at what our conditions are now, and it's been raining for hours now. With each successive wave of rain that comes in, the winds seem to pick up a little bit more. Winds are now gusting about 35 miles an hour here in Naples. And I think when people wake up tomorrow morning, they might be shocked to see that winds could be double what they are right now.
I mean, let's face it, the Keys are already seeing double that. We're seeing wind gusts in Key West to 67 already, and the National Weather Service in Key West is sending out tweets that basically, time's up, people. Don't go outside, shelter in place, get to an interior room, put your shoes on. They're telling you to, treat this like a tornado warning. There could be flying debris. You want pillows, you want blankets, you want helmets, you want mattresses. You may want to put your food in your safe room because you're not getting out of it anytime soon. This is what people have to think about towards your area in about 12 hours.
Crazy. You think about the wind component of this. You think about the surge component of this. By the way, Mark, I know I showed you this earlier, but I want to show you something because I noticed something that I didn't notice earlier, okay? The surge sensors that they have on the pillars here at the pier, I never noticed there was one way up there. I'm just under 6 feet tall. That's twice as tall as me. The water could go that high.
You may want to put your food in your safe room because you're not getting out of it anytime soon.
Level. Think about that. 15 feet is devastating and will cover your house. In the Tampa Bay area, the surge is forecast to be 5 to 8 feet. Think about that. The typical first story is 7 to 10 feet. This is a life-threatening situation. Remember, the storm surge comes after the wind. Do not think the storm is over when the wind slows down.
Is always the most dangerous and deadly component of any tropical system, and unfortunately in Irma, it has the potential to be so The forecast surge across much of southeast Florida is getting towards the ridiculous size, right? And here's the scale over here. The orange color, 6 to 9 feet, the red 9 plus. What that means is the amount of water above normally dry ground. Zooming in on a couple of cities here across southwest Florida, let's start out as we get real tight in so you can find where you are. Here's Naples, right? Look at how far inland we're talking about that 9-foot plus category. This is a catastrophic situation and extremely dangerous for those that have not heeded warnings. Going up the coast just a bit, remember, it is always the surge and the flooding that prompts those evacuations. The wind,